Let me say yeah. Let me say yeah.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Cheap Seats podcast. I'm Jimmy Ward alongside Bill Stockley here. And we're going to be kicking off sort of post trade deadlines. We're going to get into some other stuff that isn't sort of surrounded around trade speculation and whatnot. So, Bill, what's going on?
Yeah, we kind of jumped in at a crazy time, hey? Just
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
at least we had stuff to talk about.
That's true.
Half the stuff I talked about, I just made up, though, so.
Isn't that what we do around here? That's why we're in the cheap
Exactly.
seats. So
Exactly. So how are you doing, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. It's been things are starting to slow down, I think. Well, sort of. Got the Stanley Cup playoffs just kind of around the corner. It's kind of like that waiting period now.
I know.
I feel like the Western Conference is pretty much locked up.
Yeah, you can see my background this week is a golf course because I think the Flames have kind of fell out of it now, so.
That is amazing. Yeah, it's tough, bud. But you
It's
gotta.
okay.
How about Miramanoff getting its first of the season? What a rocket, eh?
Didn't it hit like 4 things on the way in?
Doesn't matter. It went in. When I saw when I saw sort of the box score, I kind of thought, oh, here we go. Let's see. But one thing I was impressed, he looks like he's got a cannon of a shot from back there.
Yeah, they're all like joking around. It's like Michael Stone 2.0 back there for the Flames.
Hey, if he becomes Michael Stone, will you be happy?
Of course, the guy would always sign for like league minimum, and I think he was a good leader on that blue line for a lot of years. He's still with the organization too.
Is he down in with the Wranglers?
No, he's like in like a coaching
Oh,
um
shows what I know, eh?
mentorship something, I don't know.
Oh,
But
that's good. That's good. Well,
so
let's hope.
yeah, let's get into it. So
Let's do it.
you know, I don't want to talk Rangers and Flames every single podcast because I don't want this to become a Rangers podcast or a Flames podcast, but
Yeah.
there's been so much uh, on Matt Rempe, and he finally got his first sussy the other day. The old chicken
Yeah.
wing right to the chops there.
Yeah.
Um 4 games for a first offense.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking?
There's a couple different angles I can come at this one. I didn't think he'd get 4 games. I thought it would be a 1 to 2 game suspension just because of the things you talked about, it being a first time offense. At the same time, I'm not overly surprised at 4 games. I think he deserved 4 to 5 games for sure. Just based on a couple of things, elbow contact to the head, like regardless of what you think of the hit or what sort of happened, you can't do that. You can't make contact elbow to head. I think it's a dangerous play. I think what magnifies this obviously is sort of like he's laid a few bone crushing hits on some guys, and
He's playing on the edge. He's playing on the edge every night.
definitely playing on the edge. If you look at sort of, and I think it's just a lot of it is sort of that intelligence on how to hit guys. Obviously can't have too many excuses once you're playing at the pro level, but if you look at the hit, obviously he's coming in hard. And the thing about Rempe is not only is a big guy, but he skates pretty fast. And he's not a slow player. He's not one of those guys who can't get up down the ice.
Well,
Like
he's
he can
got
get up down the
telephone
ice.
pole legs, man. He like 3 strides are like.
Yeah. So the thing with him there, so he obviously goes to lay a hit. Siegenthaler sees him coming. Like, you can slow this down and watch. People may or may not agree, but Siegenthaler does the right thing and sees him coming and slams on the brakes. And Rempe, I think at the last second realizes that, he's going to hit the boards. Like he's not going to get Siegenthaler at all. And, he goes to put his arms out to brace for it. But I think your natural reaction is to still try and get a piece of the guy. Unfortunately, he sticks his elbow out and just hits him and,
Yeah,
connects with the head.
that's what I was gonna say. He put his elbow out to Siegenthaler's face to try to stop himself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not making excuses for him, obviously. Like, there's like, I don't know if I don't think the intent was to go elbow on head. I think his intent was to hit him through the boards at full speed. And
Yeah.
Siegenthaler pulls up and he sticks his arm out. And you can't do that. Like, regardless if you think it's
Well, he
intent or
stuck his
not.
elbow out, not his arm.
Oh, yeah. Well, elbow. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, the arm came up, the elbow. Yeah. And I
Did
think,
Siegenthaler stay in the game?
no. And he's actually out with a concussion now. So
Uh-oh.
it's pretty serious. Like, it's not a good look. Like, and I think the sad part for me with the whole situation is I feel like Rempe can actually play the game and he can actually help. Like, I know the narrative is that he's some goon who's targeting and trying to hurt all these guys. And, if you watch that game just before that, he actually wins a face-off against Nico Hischier in the draw. Nico Hischier is obviously a very good centerman and good face-off guy. And he gets to the front of the net. Gustafsson shoots, screen, scores. Like, he's defense are turning pucks over on him. Like he's doing a good job. He's just got to really learn how to not, lay those dirty hits, because if you're in the playoffs and if you want this guy playing in the playoffs, if you're in a 2-2 game and he decides he wants to take a run at someone and absolutely cold clocks him like that again and gets a 5 in major, it could ultimately cost the team the game.
And possibly the season, right? If you're talking playoffs.
And he won't have a career. Like you won't play if you're going to hurt your team with 5-minute majors and 4-minute roughing penalties and all this stuff. Like you're not helping, and he has an opportunity to learn from this. I'm glad he got 4 games. I think it's message sent by the NHL. I don't think they liked the wave. I wasn't a big fan of him waving at the bench, especially since McDermott, who wanted to fight him so badly that game, wasn't able to get a piece of him, and then you wave. I don't really like that move. But interesting enough, April 4th, Devils Rangers, or April 3rd.
So that was another comment I was gonna make. So I doubt we talked about it. Not a very notable trade, but the New Jersey Devils did toughen up by bringing in Curtis McDermott from the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, do you believe that was Laviolette telling Rempe, like, no, this time you're not gonna do it? Because from what I kind of noticed, he was kind of trying to get him to go a few times during the game.
Well, I think it was the fact that I think I didn't see sort of the first half of the game. I heard all McDermott did was chase him around the entire game,
Yeah.
but it was at the time, like anytime it's sort of been a close game or the Rangers have momentum, I think Rempe is learning not to drop the gloves, because you don't want to give the Devils something to rally around. So I think part of it was that. That same thing happened in Toronto with Reeves, right? It's a tight game and the Rangers are, you don't want to give momentum one way or another. So I think he's
And
learning in terms of that.
we said it to each other right during that game. I'm like, I don't know if that was a great spot for Reeves to fight him. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, the Rangers come back and tie that game.
Right. So it's going to be interesting moving forward of what's going to happen in that 4th game, because I fully expect them to fight. A couple of things will happen. They'll either fight off the draw. Like,
well, do you feel like he has to?
Yeah, I think he does. He's going to have to answer for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not getting away with that. You already destroyed Bastion, the game prior. That's why McDermott wanted to fight. I think Rempe finally was like, okay, you weren't even here when it happened. And I think Siegenthaler and just the way it's all gone, like they're going to fight. Like there's no question about it. The question for me is going to be, will other guys get targeted? Like, will the Devils target some of the Rangers' top guys? Like, how ugly is this game going to get? My hope is that they just drop the gloves 2 seconds into the game, fight, and then move
It's
on.
done.
Like
Yeah.
I think that that's all that needs to happen. Will more happen? I don't know. Like
Well,
sort
and
of,
the Rangers have a lot more to lose
yeah. That's the
this
other thing that
season,
worries me.
right?
Yeah, the Devils will be playing for nothing by then, and I mean, they pretty much are playing for nothing. So, I hope nobody gets hurt in that game for my sake as a fan and wanting them to go on a deep playoff run is my hope. And they just get out of that game. I don't really care what happens in it. So
Yeah, so another interesting suspension in the NHL last week. Why don't you tell the people about that one?
John Tortorella gets suspended 2 games and a $50,000 fine. He was ejected from the game by Wes McCauley, and I think he refused to leave for a good 2 minutes. Pretty much said, "I'm not going," and I was really interested to see how that was going to play out. But Tortorella ends up leaving. So, did you saw the clip? What were sort of your initial
I
thoughts?
did, and I was gonna ask you, like, what, in your opinion, does a coach have to do to get tossed out of a game? We saw Woodcroft get tossed out of a game earlier in the year, but that was like towards the end of a game, and like what do you have to do as a coach to get tossed out of the game? Because I've seen coaches pretty hot before at the
I,
referees, and usually the
mhm,
referees are able to just be like, relax. Sometimes, maybe a bench minor or something like that, but
mhm.
to get tossed and suspended and fined, like what on earth did this guy do or say?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like I haven't played pro hockey, but it's pretty easy in sort of men's league or beer league. You say a few things to the ref, you're either getting a penalty or getting tossed. I think at the NHL level, it's a little different. I think the main thing at the NHL level, when a coach gets tossed, and I'm only making assumptions here, I think it's probably would have been along the lines of questioning sort of the referee's integrity, questioning their professionalism. Because we all know referees make mistakes and coaches can get hot and they can say this and that and they can be upset about a particular player, whatever, even to a point to a benchmark. But to get kicked out, it probably had to be quite personal and it
And
probably had to
and
question the integrity.
and Wes McCauley, probably very like well respected referee in the NHL, if not
Yeah,
the best referee in the NHL too.
yeah, he's whether your opinion is he's a good ref or not, he's definitely a veteran referee, and who knows? I mean, sometimes he just wasn't having it that day, and he kicked him out. And John Tortorella, I have like a little bit of a theory on why Torts didn't leave. And I think, Tortorella's always been a guy who's sort of been this reputation of being hard on his players and this coach nobody wants to play for and kind of nasty and mean. But like, I think what he did in that moment was understand that he felt that his team had suffered at least some sort of an injustice uh, in that game. And it was almost like saying to the guys, like, I got your back. Like, I'm gonna lay into the refs for you guys, right? And, because the Flyers are sort of a younger team. Maybe there aren't a lot of guys that can stand up to Wes McCauley in that lineup. There might be a few, but I think Tortorella, sent a message to his team saying, "Listen, I got your guys' back. Like, regardless of what you think, I don't even know what they were disputing." So I just kind of saw the clip. So it's kind of my
Yeah, and
opinion.
then
I
maybe
knew it
a
was
guy
going to
you
be a
want to
pretty
work hard
messy.
for, right? So a guy you want to work
Yeah,
hard for and you'd go through a wall for, you can say like, hey, he's got my back, I got his back. So
like I can tell you the sense I get. Obviously, I don't know him, but he was, he coached the Rangers for a while. I feel like at the end of the day, he cares about his players. Um, he kind of has a weird way of showing it at times, for sure. And I think over time, I think, I think he wears out. Obviously, the narrative is like he wears out his welcome. And I've heard mixed reviews. A lot of guys, a guy like I saw an interview with Michael Del Zotto. Absolutely love John Tortorella. Like credit him for basically making him into for a while there an NHL regular player, and then I think there are other players who not so much, right? So kind of just depends, like personality mesh. But I think 2 games and the 50K fine was not surprising at all. Like you can't just refuse to
unreal.
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he did and he got in trouble. So
yeah.
you brought something up to me earlier today. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that? You had some concerns with the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, we were you and I kind of talking off air. I don't know, I'd say about a couple of weeks ago, and we said, it doesn't look like we're going to talk much about playoff races, and all of a sudden, the New York Islanders go on a bit of a heater, and the Detroit Red Wings have now lost 6 in a row, and it's been a little bit of trouble over in Detroit. So I first wanted to get your thoughts on sort of the losing streak and sort of what have you seen? And also, if you saw today, Ben Sherratt, I think, gotten a little dust up with Lucas Raymond in practice. So it appears frustrations are boiling over quite a bit over in Hockey Town.
Yeah, it's it's always kind of interesting when you see that, especially I wonder if like back in the day the amount of dust ups that probably happened in practice. But like with the age we live in, with cameras everywhere, like every practice is recorded. Everybody has a video recording device in their pocket that are at practice. So these things kind of get out. And even now you look at teams, how many times have players probably wanted to have a dust up in practice, but are just quickly reminded that, hey, all those media people up there have their phones out and they're probably recording us right now. So, yeah, you know what? I've been on teams before where I don't like um, what somebody's doing in practice, and I think maybe they're getting too aggressive or frustrations boil over. And um, fortunately, I've never been in an altercation like that, but I could see how it could get that way, especially when it kind of looks like with the Detroit Red Wings that they're bleeding really badly right now and kind of don't know how to stop it. Like some of these losses, like they've lost the Buffalo Sabres, the Arizona Coyotes. Um, and like these are like there's been like two shutout losses in the last six too. Um, and one point you brought up is their captain is out right now, Dylan Larkin, out right now. And when you mentioned that to me, I just kind of looked it up, and without Larkin this year, the Detroit Red Wings have a record of 2-8-0. So they've only won 2 games without Dylan Larkin in the lineup. With Dylan Larkin in the lineup, they're 31-18-6. Um, so big key piece missing there for the Detroit Red Wings. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously the Dylan Larkin injury is huge because, a lot of what drove the Detroit Red Wings, it's funny because what drove a lot of them was probably Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat together. They were quite a dynamic line. Unfortunately, when Larkin goes down, there isn't a lot of depth at the center ice position. They basically have, after that, more or less, I would say, 3 third-line centers, who I would say would be considered, fringe second-line centers. Right now, JT Compher's playing in the spot of Larkin, and then to me, that's a pretty significant downgrade. It's no disrespect to Compher, but he's not Dylan Larkin. I don't know if they've tried anybody else there. I mean, the other ones are Andrew Kopp and Joe Veleno. Like, it just seems to be that huge gap between Larkin and the rest of the centermen in Detroit. And and to be able to kind of have that, not a lot of them have that offensive creativity with Kane and DeBrincat. Although I probably would like to see Veleno get a shot there. I think he probably has a little more offensive touch than Kopp and Compher, but in terms of talent. The other one is, the Cedar and Wallman are struggling as a D pair. Alex Lyon, over the course of that, as sort of this streak, has the worst save percentage, one of the worst save percentages in the National Hockey League. So they're not getting saves either. And the thing is they're not even giving up a lot of high danger scoring chances in that time as well. So it's just been it's just been kind of an overall, their top pair's not playing well, their goaltending's not doing much, and obviously that first line's slowed right down to a halt. I think out of all the Detroit Red Wings, only Oli Mata has more than 1 goal during that stretch. So it's all sort of, a lot of it is sort of falling apart. And the good news is they still control their fate in terms of, they're tied with the New York Islanders right now, but time's running out. So they're really, really going to have to turn this around, or they could be on the outside looking in.
And just looking up here too, the Detroit Red Wings very quiet at the trade deadline as well.
Yeah, that was sort of expected. Just looking at Alex Line over his last, of all the guys who played, he started 5 games. He's got an 850 save percentage, and Reimer hasn't fared much better. He's got an 880. So, in that
it's so strange, like talking about the Detroit Red Wings like this, because you and I grew up in an era where they were just a powerhouse. And if they weren't winning Stanley Cups, they were in Stanley Cup finals, and they always had like such strong teams. And how many years in a row is it they'd made the playoffs when they eventually missed?
Well, it was
Like,
tons, and then obviously, guys start to age out. Cap comes in, things change.
yeah,
But since Yzerman's done the build, I think it was important for them to take a step. Obviously, they're very close, but for teams like the Detroit Red Wings or those fringe teams, whenever they suffered injury, like I just don't see them having the depth to replace a Dylan Larkin. It's not like other teams that load it up and sort of they anticipate that there will be bumps and bruises along the way. That's why you add these kind of depth pieces so that if someone does go down, you can plug guys into the lineup.
yeah.
And go from there.
Anything else in Detroit?
I just think they're going to have to stop the bleeding or they're going to be out. I think it's going to be really tough. And, they got the Islanders nipping at their heels. Looks like the guys are buying in with Patrick Waugh. I like the fact that Waugh's put their 3 best offensive players together and is starting to play a more aggressive style. And you're starting to see some of the guys buy in.
And interesting to see momentum going both ways there, right? So you got momentum for New York going up, momentum going down for Detroit. So let's see if the Detroit Red Wings can hang on here and kind of claw themselves back to where they were. Really interesting. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, the Islanders are technically in on points percentage. They have a game in hand as well. So
there you go.
Yeah, and the Capitals aren't far behind. So gonna be an interesting playoff race in the East. I think the West is locked up though.
So shifting gears to I had Tyler Toffoli on my team last year on the Calgary Flames, so I like to follow some old players and just went to peek at the Winnipeg Jets the other day, and I just noticed that that team does not have a point per game player on their team right now, and they're having a crazy good year.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it interesting, so I went and looked back actually to the Vegas Golden Knights last year. And the Vegas Golden Knights last year, they're Stanley Cup champions. Guess how many point per game players they had?
How many?
0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I don't
that's
know.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting stat that I looked into there, and these guys, like, they just don't have any like bona fide superstar players. Like, yeah, Jack Eichel's pretty good.
Well, Mark
Mark
Stone was
Stone's
hurt for a
good.
while.
Yeah.
Like he came back later in the year.
But even though like Mark Stone last year, like he played 43 games, 38 points.
Yeah.
Jack
Obviously
Eichel
adding.
led the team, 67 games played, 66 points.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
then
interesting. I wonder what their stats would have been towards the last part of that season because obviously Eichel started late after having that neck fusion surgery.
yeah.
Mark Stone was hurt. They added Ivan Barbashev at the deadline, so they made some tinkering to that lineup. And you show me a good team, and I'll show you a good goaltender. If you look at
Yeah,
some of
for
the
sure.
numbers, right? If you look at, I mean, let's look at the case of the Winnipeg Jets right now. Like you said, no point per game player. They're not overwhelmingly you know, um, they're 19th in goals for, so they're in the bottom half of the league. They're second in terms of goals against, but a lot of that is the fact that they have probably the best goalie tandem in the NHL in Connor Hellebuck and Laurent Brossoit. They're eclipsing at about a 936 save percentage combined, which is elite. Like it's elite. So a lot of the Jets' success is coming off of goaltending. And they convert on their chances. They don't produce an insane amount of high danger chances, but they convert at a high rate. So a lot of their players are having careers in terms of shooting percentage. So I think that's helping as well. So their special teams aren't very good. I think they're 24th ranked on the power play and they're 23rd in the PK, so in the bottom third of that. Normally, if you have a 24th and 23rd ranked PK, you're probably not sniffing around the playoffs. So I think a lot of credit has to go to Connor Hellebuck and Laurent Brossoit, because I think without them, I don't even know if we see the Jets in the playoffs. Now they have had some injuries. Gabriel Velarde's missed some time. Nikolai Ehlers was out for a while. They brought in some new players now in Toffoli and Sean Monahan, so the complexion of the team is looking different. I think honestly, also Scheifele was out tonight against the Predators. I believe they got beat 4-2 tonight. Yeah. So I think for the Jets, obviously they knew they had to make some changes based on probably some of the areas of concern. I think Cheveldayoff feels like he's done it. I do like their top nine. I think Bonus is probably comfortable with that top nine. I'm curious on what they're going to do with Cole Perfetti, because he's playing on the fourth line, but he's kind of an offensive threat. So kind of what are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to ask you too, what did that Dubois trade do for Winnipeg Jets depth last summer?
Well, I mean, they added 3 NHL players. Like if you look at, they got Alex Iafallo, Gabriel Velarde, they were solid players for the LA Kings, and then they got Rasmus Kapari, who can't even get in the lineup, and he would be in the lineup on most NHL rosters. Obviously, like they have a lot of. They really remind me of those early Ranger teams, who sort of went far on the backs of Lundqvist, but their leading point getter would be like Matt Zuccarello, whose point totals were in the 50s and 60s, and then they had guys like Callahan and Hayes, and they weren't big household names up front, but they kind of got it done as a collective, and then they had the rock solid goalie in there to sort of help them. I don't know how far they'll go. I think they need to find a way to create more offense, because they're definitely converting on their chances when they get those prime chances. Like they're converting quite well. But I think if they can find a way to do that, I think, with adding Toffoli, I think it should help the power play a bit, and, just hope that Hellebuck can sort of hold the fort. But it's really nice because if Hellebuck, say, goes down, like Brossoit has been really good as well. So it's just going to be if there was an upset in the first round, I could see maybe the Jets getting upset by a team, but if they can sort of shore up those areas, I think they'll be okay. But there are definitely some concerns, and I think it's just going to be where everything fits with the new guys.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you know or not, but I was just wondering, did Toffoli play with any of those boys from LA when he was in LA?
Well, I don't think so. I think Toffoli kind of left, like he was part of those like Stanley Cup winning teams in LA. I'd have to look, but he was part of that. What was that line he was on? That 70s line with Carter and Pearson. It was Carter, Pearson, Toffoli, and that was kind of when, he was they were in there. He was kind of coming in, and they were a pretty dominant line. I don't know if he played with any of the guys who were in LA. I think he might have been off, because he went from LA to, was he off to Vancouver? Yeah, I think because Velarde was drafted kind of after those sort of cups, I think, because Velarde was like a top 10 pick. And
just curious.
Yeah, so I don't think there was a lot of overlap. So
Yeah,
kind of just like,
so we're gonna try something new tonight. We're gonna try to have a shorter episode. So let's just wrap it up here. Maybe some exciting news, Jimmy. Do you wanna announce the exciting news on maybe some expansion in the NHL?
yeah, there was talks about Anson Carter leading a group to try and bring a team back to Atlanta. I guess they laid
Wow,
out.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, third time's a charm, right? I personally, I don't see how this would work. You've been there twice. I mean, this will be a third time. I know they have a plan to put it, they want to build a new arena and they want to put it in an area where hockey seems to be a little more popular than where it was before. I don't know Atlanta very geographically, but I guess there was a plan all laid out. I still think that if they're going to, I think they'd probably be more open to relocation versus expansion. I don't think the NHL wants to go to 34 teams, and especially within also the expansion fee is going to be close to $1 billion by then. Um, I don't see it. I mean, there's a lot of other markets that I think would be
Do you,
ahead of
do you,
Atlanta.
and do you feel like when you do expansion, it gets saturates the league a little bit more?
Um, well, I mean, obviously, it it
Yeah.
it it, it does a little bit, but at the same time, I still think it's still a good enough product that I think you could support. I think 32 is good. I don't think there needs to be more. There's no other league, I think, in North America that is beyond 32. So I think if I'm the NHL, I don't know if I want to spearhead something like that. Like I'd probably wait for the NFL or the NBA or somebody else to kind of go that route and see what it's like. But if you look at, yeah, I think 32 it's a nice number.
Well, and like I was just thinking, like, maybe this is the pathway for Quebec City to get its team, right?
Yeah, they've
The
been talking about
Atlanta Flames turn into the Calgary Flames. The Atlanta Thrashers turn into the Winnipeg Jets. So,
the road
just
to
let them go to
Canada.
Atlanta for a few years and Quebec City, here's your team. Done.
The road through Canada. The road to Canada comes through Atlanta. It'd be yeah, that's quite that. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Atlanta? I mean, I kind of laughed, to be
Uh,
honest.
I'm a been there, done that kind of a guy. I think you could plop an NHL team in most Canadian cities and it would be more successful than it will be in Atlanta, personally. And I'm biased because I live in Canada and I want to support Canadian teams. But hey, what do we know? Hey, bud.
Yeah, what exactly? Oh, just on a side note, Tyler Toffoli and Alex Iafallo played a full season together.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was the season before Toffoli was traded. So, well, and interesting enough, they both put up almost the same numbers, 34 and 33 points. So, will they rekindle some magic? I'm not sure, but I think it'll
We're
take
gonna
time in
find
Winnipeg.
out.
Yeah,
We are gonna find
interesting,
out.
interesting team for sure.
So we are on Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts now. I did it.
You did. Hey,
I
don't forget
did.
to invite friends and family to the Facebook page.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Instagram, we're
Follow
on
us on X.
Spotify. Yeah,
We
follow
got
us on
three.
everything.
We got three followers, and one of them's Phil. So we need a little more of an audience. I know we're
Yeah.
the cheap seats, but come on, fellas.
Yeah, let's go.
All
Uh
right,
give us some suggestions to you guys. Like give us stuff you want us to talk about and we'll
for sure.
pretend to know
Topics.
about that too.
Yeah, we just fake it till we make it, right?
Exactly. Anything else, bud, before we wrap up here?
No, I thought it was a pretty solid episode, if you ask me.
Yeah. If anyone's still here, thanks for sticking through to the end and let us know too. Let us know if you want to hear us twice a week, once a week. If you don't want to hear us at all, let us know too. So
Tell you what, if you're still here listening, send us a comment on YouTube. And the first comment there, I'll buy you a Big Mac if I see you in person.
There you go.
Yeah. I'll
All right, guys.
somehow, some way get you a Big Mac.
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Just give us a comment. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Again, like and subscribe to all of our social medias. We're on YouTube. Like I said, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, all the social medias. Go check it out. And yeah, the more you guys get in there and interact with us, the funner it's going to be for everybody. Trust me.
Exactly.
So,
All right, filler.
yeah, if we don't talk to you, have a good weekend, and yeah, talk to you soon.
Sounds good.